Hello guys. Today I will be solving a polynomial equation. And the polynomial equation we'll be solving is x to the fourth minus 3x to the third plus 4x squared equals 0. You might ask, why is it set so far over here? Well, because I need the room to work here and here as well. Alright, so here we go. So with all polynomial equations, or even in polynomial factoring, you want to look and see, is there something I can factor out of everything? And I notice there are x's in all of those terms, and the lowest exponent I see is 2. So I'm going to factor out x squared out of every piece of this polynomial, every term. So I'm going to factor out x squared out of that. That leaves me x squared. All right? I'm going to factor out x squared here. That leaves me minus 3x. And I'm going to factor out x squared here, and that leaves me plus 4. Well, I'm going to try to factor this here. Well, I have x squared. Let's see if I can make this happen, okay? Are there any numbers that you can think of that we can multiply together to get positive 4, but add together to get negative 3? Well, if it's positive, these both have to be negative, right? All right, two numbers that multiply together to be 4. We could try 2 and 2. That doesn't work. Because negative 2 plus negative 2 is negative 4. Well, the only other combination I know is negative 4 and negative 1. Because those multiply together to make positive 4. But if I try to add those together, that makes negative 5. Oh no, does that mean that we can't factor this? Well, we can't factor it, but there is a way that we can solve for x, all right? So for this, first thing we can do is we can do x squared equals 0, all right? If I take the square root of both sides, x equals 0. So one of the values that works for x is 0. Now, if we want to solve this here, x squared minus 3x plus 4 equals 0. There's another way to solve for x that doesn't involve factoring, and that is the quadratic formula, all right, which is x equals negative b, right, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now do you see why I saved this room over here? That's going to take up some space. All right, so if you'll remember that a is whatever's in front of the x squared. So a equals 1. B is whatever is in front of the x, so that's negative 3. And C is the constant, or whatever doesn't have a variable attached to it, and that will be 4. All right. So I'm going to plug those into this formula and solve for x. So x equals negative b. Well, b is already negative 3, so that's going to be positive 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared. B squared, so negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9 minus 4 times a, which is 1, right, and times c, which is 4, all over 2a, well, a is 1, so 2 times 1 is just 2. Okay, all right, let's continue to simplify. 3 plus or minus the square root of let's see, that's going to be 9 minus 16, which is negative 7 over 2. Well, we can't leave it as a negative square root, so I'm going to say that this is 3 plus or minus I square root of 7 over 2. So the answers to our polynomial equation when we solve it are 0 and 3 plus or minus I, the square root of 7, over 2.